Hello, what's up YouTube? Ronnix with Natural, and in this tutorial I'll show you guys how to do your skin retouching and color grading, and we're going to be basing more on the skin retouching and color grading to get that nice and melanin skin tone like I posted on my Instagram earlier on. So let me show you guys what I did for this very image, and this is more of a continuation of yesterday's series of color grading rather. So like where we stopped during the color grading process in the recently uploaded tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll show you guys what steps I took further to do more in the color grading process and the skin retouching process, and basically saving this very image. So the very first thing I did for this image is cleaning up the background. You can see I had to clean up the background and also do that. So I'm just going to merge these layers by hitting Shift Command E to merge these layers. I'm just going to come to my action and I'm going to play my 16-bit frequency separation action. And for those interested, you can simply check out how you can create your own actions depending on the bit mode of your images. So I'm just going to come and play my 16-bit action. So just play it, and it is this point whereby you have to move this radius up to a point when you're losing out on the skin textures. So you shouldn't cram this radius. Simply move this radius up to that point when you're losing out on the details in the skin area of your images. So just move it up to that point when you're losing out on the details in the skin. So I think at around 8 I have lost out the details. So remember, I only want to remain with the colors in this very step. So you shouldn't cram this. Just move it up to that point when you're losing out completely on the skin textures. So simply come and hit OK, and it is going to continue playing, and it is automatically going to create for me a black and white layer inside of my frequency separation group. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come and get my mixer brush tool and make sure, mixer brush tool, make sure it is a clean brush, and make sure this option is checked because I want the brush to be clean after each and every stroke. Wetness, I'm going to be using a wetness of around 9%, and load is 75, mix 90, and the flow 100. Make sure sample all layers is not checked or marked because you want to get this tool to blend or even out the skin tones in this particular image. So after you have set up your mixer brush tool, come and select the low frequency layer right here. So for those that don't have the right settings, I'm going to link for you guys above here so that you can click and check on the right settings and the best use for a mixer brush tool. And guys, don't forget to check out my skin tone alerts, and the link is going to be in the description of this very video. So I'm just going to come and select this right here. That is my low frequency layer because I want to blend or even out the skin tones in this particular low frequency layer. And I'm just going to zoom in by holding down Control plus or Command plus and increasing on the size of the mixer brush tool by using the box brackets on the keyboard. So left click and start evening out on the skin tones. So how I'm blending the midtones alone, the highlights and the shadows. So I have midtones right here. I'm just going to blend them. Then come and blend this highlight right there, and come and blend this side too. Then come this side and blend those nice highlights just like that, and come this side and also blend those beautiful highlights just like that. Just going to increase on the size slightly. So depending on the area I'm trying to even out the skin tones, I just have to keep on playing around with the mixer brush tool depending on the size of the area I'm trying to even out the skin tones onto. So I'm just going to come the nose area, blend those shadows right there, and come this side and blend the shadows on the right hand side of the nose just like that. And I'm just going to come and blend this right here. So for those interested in the raw file, this time around I'm going to give you this raw file to for you guys to practice. So make sure it is for only practice purposes and not for any commercial purposes, because My models are usually not okay with seeing their photos here and there, so make sure I just use it for practice purposes, and yeah, respect the model and maybe my clients. So just do that and you won't get me in trouble. So just continue evening out the skin tones using the mixer brush tool. And in order to see your progress, turn off the black and white layer and you can see a before and after. After you have just blended or even out the skin tones using the mixer brush tool. So just come and blend. Like I always say, you don't have to automatically be using the black and white layer, but it is more of a help layer to guide you and show you where to even out and where not to even out. So I'm just going to come right to the chest area and I'm just going to come activate my black and white and make sure it is still on my low frequency layer and come and continue evening out the skin tones right in these areas, just like that. So come right this side and do the same. So I'm basically trying to even out the skin tones using the lovely mixer brush tool. And after doing this, we're going to be removing or cleaning up the skin or removing blemishes after doing our frequency separation, because blemish removal is going to really change this image before you can even do the color grading. And under the color grading process, I'm going to be showing you guys my secret to achieving those nice and melanin professional look of the skin tones in the images I post on Instagram. So stick around and you'll be getting that amazing trick and tip that is going to change or transform your retouching process. So I think this is fine. So let's just come and see the before and after. So turn this off. You can see the before and after so far, and the image really looks amazing. So the next thing we want to do, we want to simply come to the lasso tool and make sure we zoom in slightly and come and make a selection onto the skin area just like this. So make sure you only select on the skin area, and after doing all that, come to filter and come to blur and come back to the Gaussian blur just like that. So when you come this step, make sure you move this radius. Remember, this is what we had for African separation. We are separating the layers of the image into the textures and the colors. So simply left click on this icon right here and drag it towards the right hand side up to a point when you feel like you have a nice skin texture for your image. So I'm just going to move this up to that point when I feel like I have a sweet texture. You can see at around 24 the texture really looks nice and natural. But another trick to this is simply getting this radius and multiplying it by 3. So whichever radius you may have had for your frequency separation process of your layers, simply multiply it by 3 and I'll have 24 for this case, and you can see it is giving the right skin texture and the texture that looks really natural. So I'm going to be applying this effect onto the rest of the image. So make a selection and right click and come to Gaussian blur, and if at all you feel the effect is too much, you can simply right click on that selection and you'll have the fade option and you can reduce on the opacity of that effect in that particular area. So let's just do this because I don't want this to be a pretty long tutorial like my usual skin retouching tutorials, because I want to focus majorly on the color grading process, but I felt like I should first share with you guys this retouching process so that you can see how this image was retouched. So how I'm making these selections, I'm making them the way an area is shaped or a given area is shaped for this case. So just do that, and I'm simply right clicking and coming to the Gaussian blur to apply the effect onto that area. So you can see this is more of a fine-tuning step. So you can see before and after, and the image is really looking nice and amazing. So what we have to do is to clean or remove blemishes. So I'm going to select the black and white layer and hit delete and simply come to my high frequency layer. Remember, this layer is containing the textures in this image. So I'm just going to come to my clone stamp tool. Make sure the opacity and flow at 100. Sampling is on the current layer because we don't want to sample information from other layers. So come and select the high frequency layer and now zoom in because we want to deal with the blemishes in this particular image. So in order to clean up the blemishes using the clone stamp tool, simply hold down the alternate key and left click to sample from a clean area near the blemish and simply click over the blemish to get rid of it. So you can easily increase on the size of your clone stamp tool by using the box brackets, and you can continue cleaning up the skin or removing the blemishes. Remember, always take your time while removing or cleaning up the blemishes from your images in Photoshop, because if at all you leave out some of the blemishes, or if at all you do it really in a careless way, you're going to be having the worst out of your skin retouching. And remember, every time we do take these beauty shots, it's like we have given permission to people to zoom into the images to see every single detail or every single detail of perfection regarding the images we do post. So make sure you don't fall a victim of bad blemish removal, and I would recommend that you guys watch my tutorial about blemish removal if at all you really want to be perfect at cleaning up skin. So I'm going to link for you guys right above there so that you can watch and learn how or the best way to clean up skin or remove blemishes from your beauty or your portraits in just Photoshop. So it is going to be a really effective tutorial. So always make sure that you watch everything you're recommended to watch, because I take time to create this and they are for you guys to be or make you better retouchers at the end of the day. So make sure you uh, take time and watch and learn so that you become rather better at your retouching game in Photoshop. So let me just come and clean up this because I don't want you guys to spend a whole day here, because I know most of you watching are waiting for the color grading process for this series of the images, and I'm just going to show you that in a bit. And the trick I use to have nice and richer skin tones, and this method is really nice because it not only richens or adds professional tones into the images, but also add shape or dimension to the images. So let me just clean up these tiny skin imperfections, and as you can see, I always take my time while removing blemishes because I know most of you out there zoom to see these details in the images. So that's why I am being really careful with the blemish removal, and I'm doing so much of the talking because I don't want to forward anything. So basically I'm removing the blemishes using the clone stamp tool, and how I'm doing this, I'm basically holding on the alternate key and left clicking and releasing both the alternate and the left click, and simply left clicking over the blemish to get rid of it or clean up that area occupied by the blemish on the skin. So I'm just going to clean up these blemishes, and when I'm done cleaning them up, you're going to notice that this is going to contribute a biggest percentage to the retouching of this very image. So make sure you leave no stone unturned rather. By stone I mean blemishes for this case. So make sure you do that and you take your time while cleaning up or removing blemishes from your images during the skin retouching process. So just be careful with the blemish removal and don't mess up the images anyway. So let's just clean, and when we are done doing all that, you're going to notice that this image is going to dramatically change. I don't know what is wrong with me and my pronunciations today. So I think we are done with the forehead of the model. So let's just clean up these whiteheads right here and just try to eliminate this too much texture right there. And after doing this, like I promised, we only have to deal with the chin of this beautiful model. And like I said, I'm going to be giving you guys this raw image, and it's going to be in the description of this very video so that you can first of all learn the color grading. And to reach this step for the color grading process, I already did a tutorial which I have linked to this very video, and you're going to be adding the bonus for the color grading from this very tutorial and the steps I'm about to show you guys. So I think we are done removing or cleaning up the blemishes from the model's skin, and it really looks pretty good. So let's just get rid of this tiny thing right here. So I think you're done removing the blemishes. So it is time for the final secret that I'm going to reveal. So let's say before and after. So this was the image initially, before and after, before, after. So right now, what I prefer to do before doing any step or process in Photoshop is coming and adding shape or dimension. But the method I'm going to be using is also going to be color grading this image. So that method is going to be by simply coming down here and coming to the curves adjustment layer, then simply come to select and coming to color range. So when you come to color range, you're going to notice that we have this which has sample all layers. So I'm just going to come to sampled layers rather. Then here we have fuzziness, so make sure that selection is active and quick mask is also checked. So you'll notice that I have my eyedropper tool activated, so I want to click on the area that has highlights in the image. So for this case, I'm just going to click over that area, and you can easily play around with the fuzziness to have this really fine-tuned even more. So I think at around, you can see right here we have highlights that are targeted in this particular area. So just come and hit OK. So remember, we have just targeted the highlights, so just come and make a midpoint and just brighten them up, so you can see that the image is really getting transformed even more. So before, after, so don't overdo this, just do a little bit of it. And you're going to come and do the same for the other curves adjustment layer. And for the shadows, come to select and come to color range, and you're going to simply get the eyedropper tool and now click on the shadow area. And what this does, when you click on the shadow area, it is going to only target those shadow areas. And you can see when you select the shadow areas, it is going to be really look inverted. So these are the shadow areas we have been able to select. So come and simply hit OK. And now we're going to make another midpoint and simply darken this time around. So just don't overdo that. Just do less of it. So I think that is fine. So you can see the before and after, and it is not too much. So what I have to do, I'm going to put these two in a group by holding down Control Command and clicking on both and hitting Control G or Command G, and you can name this D and B for dodging and burning. So you can see before and after, before, after. We have added shape and dimension to the image, and the image has that nice and beautiful glow. So the other step I have to do is simply coming to my selective color panel or tool and simply intensifying on the blacks of the image to around 3, and doing the same for my yellows, just like that, around -4 can do. And now we're going to come to the yellows, and since we have some kind of yellows right here, we're just going to move this to around. So target the yellows, just do it to around, you're just going to go with around -20 for this image. And you're going to come to the hue and saturation panel, and you're going to come and select the yellows, because you just want to eliminate the yellows in the image. So come to the saturation and simply knock down the saturation of the yellows from the image, just like that. Just going to take it all the way to around -75 can do for this image. And I think the image is now looking really nice and amazing, and we have that nice and rich skin tone for this particular model. So you can see the color grading we have just done. So I'm just going to hold down command and hit Ctrl or Command G on the keyboard, and you can see before and after, before, after, and the image really looks nice and beautiful. So let's see what we have done so far. So I'm just going to turn this off. So this is the image before and after frequency separation. Then we did the dodging and burning to add that nice and rich color in the skin tones, and also did final color grading to this particular image. So this is all I did for this particular image. And if at all you have loved this tutorial, don't forget to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe this channel if at all you have been watching from this channel for the very first time. So before we can call it a day, let's first of all export this image in the best way possible. So come to File and come to Export and come to Export As. So after doing all that, it's going to open this window. So for the format, simply select JPEG because we want the image to be as sharp and as detailed as possible. So JPEG. So resampling, since we want a sharp image, you're going to come and select by cubic sharper. Make sure you convert to sRGB, and you also embed the color profile. So just do this and check these two options, and when you're done checking all those, wait for this to load, and you're going to simply hit export in order to export your image. So just do that, and you can simply rename this maybe to Fante 2021, just like that, and simply hit save, and the image is going to be saved in that location where you wanted it to be saved. So basically this has been a tutorial about skin retouching and color grading, and also dodging and burning. And if at all you have learned something from this tutorial, don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if at all you have been watching from this channel for the very first time. Ronnix from Ronnix Photography, and I'll see you in yet another one. Don't forget to keep practicing and keep creating.